All right. Thanks for your patience. I think we can get started. All right. So, bear in mind, today is going to be our last lesson on Python. Next week, God willing, I'll we'll work on a project. Work on a project to be able to, get ourselves, more abreast with the Python programming language. Then, so next time, our next language to look at is the PHP. All right. So today is going to be our last item on Python. All right, so we are going to look at list. Let me ask, did you do arrays in C++? Did you
Yes,
get a
sir.
chance? You did array.
Yes, sir.
All right, so list and arrays, are quite similar. Okay, so
I like.
this part of the course that we're going to look at is actually more advanced. Okay, so I'll need your entire attention. It's not anything difficult, and I'm sure you guys will like whatever we are going to see. Okay, so we have something we call a list, and it's nothing but a variable. But this time, this type of variable can hold multiple items. Now, if you check the variables we've been dealing with, variables normally they tend to have one item at a time. But it's also possible to have a variable that can store multiple items at a time. What am I saying? Let's go into PyCharm and let me give you an example of what I'm trying to say here. All right, so assuming this is a variable, okay, we have a variable name called variable. Then the variable has, let's say this is a string variable, like Victoria. Okay, now this is a variable and it's only having one member, which means it only has one data in memory. But when we talk about a list in the other sense is actually a single variable that can store multiple values. So for instance, we can have, let's say this. Okay, so now let me change this one to be a single variable. And let me just make this one, let's say list variable. So a list variable, to represent something as a list, you need a squared bracket. So the squared bracket, then you can go ahead and put in the data. So we have Ken separated by a comma. Okay, Ken, Samuel, and then we have David Jonathan. So this is not anything hard to comprehend. The difference between this and that, these two guys are variables, but what we are normally used to know is this particular one, where we have only one value mounted onto a single variable. I'm just naming it a single variable because I want you to know that it has a single value. But the list comes in when there are multiple values within a single variable. Are we okay? All right, so let's go ahead and look at some properties of a list. Why do we even need a list in our, you know, in our program? So there are instances actually where you can have multiple values. It's like you don't want to always declare a single value for a single value map onto a single variable, a single value map like plenty times. So to shorten your code, you can actually have just one variable with all your various values in just a single line. So this is the beauty of using lists in your programming, you know, your programming actually. Yeah, so um, list items. So some of the properties of a list items are ordered, they are changeable, and also allow duplicate values. So if you have, all right, so let's continue. Now I want to insert a new item. So to insert a new item, just the name of the list dot the insert method. Then insert method, you have to give your index, comma, then the new item can be added. So let's go ahead and add a new item to our list. So to add a new list, we say list variable dot insert into bracket two. Let me go for three and see something. All right, so I'll go for Bernard. Then let me go ahead and print our new list. As simple as that. Who is Karadoko Akoto? I think you are messing up my work. All right, so we in our original list we have King, Samuel, and Jonathan. Now I've gone ahead to insert a new index, and then there is a new name or a new item being added. Now, if I'm to use an index which is already here, it will actually replace one of them. So here we have King, Samuel, and Jonathan. Assuming I want to use two for my new item, let's run and see what happens. So it has now changed the index of Jonathan. Okay, it has pushed it to another. So insert will always add a new item without altering the main or the initial value. Okay, so let's keep that in mind. We can also append items. Appending is also more like adding, but append will only add to the end of the list. Okay, to add at the end of the list. So when you are dealing with appendment, you don't have to specify any index. The difference between the insert and the append is that with the insert, you have the ability to insert into even an existing index. But with the append, append is always to add up at the um, end of your list that you are dealing with. So we have append. Then I can go ahead and put in maybe Richard. So once we are done, we can go ahead and print our new list. So you can see that with the append, Richard has now been added onto our last item here. So with append, just know that once you are using append, then that means you want to say that go and attach yourself at the very far end of the list. For insert, you can also use insert to attach at the end, but the insert also gives you the ability to also um, add something in between, the range of values that you have.
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm listening.
So please, the insect and the append, so please, is it the same?
I just explained myself. I'm saying that when we say append, so the similarity here is this. They will all add or they will all add up to the initial list. Okay, they will add up. Now remember when we're using insert, when we run, so let me run. So we have Bernard coming in. We added Bernard and we placed Bernard in index 2. That is what you are seeing here. Okay, so in our original list, when we added the 2 here, saying that add Bernard to the list, but put Bernard in index 2. Meanwhile, in our initial data, index 2, we have Jonathan. So it has to push Jonathan to the other side, then it will replace the index. So it has added. In the same way, when you look at Richard, Richard has also been added to the list. But the difference here is this: with appendment, append will only append at the end. So once you are saying append, then you are adding to the end of the list. But when you say insert, insert can give you the ability to insert even at the beginning of the list, in the middle of the list, or even at the last end of the list. But once you say append, it is just to add at the far end. Am I clear?
Okay, okay, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
There was also the case where we insert at index number 10. Does it create spaces?
Yes. So that was, yeah. So what is going to happen is that uh, okay. So okay, you want to know whether it will create spaces. All right.
Yeah, does it create space within the
Let's
array?
all right. Let's try. So I've given it 6 from here. Let's see whether it will give us the opportunity to have that. If there's no, there won't be any error. All right. So we have index 6 here, and then Bernard is in here. So when we look at our array, sorry, our list here, so we can see that it has given some spaces, or it has ignored the spaces, and it has added Bernard to the item there. So in the 6. So we still have our job here. So let me go ahead and add up to this one. Yeah, yeah. This is 4, and this is do. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So to still allow us to add more items onto our list. We're still here. Let me go ahead and add one. Have you seen that it has skipped?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it has given us here that at the end. All right, that's a good try. You can also extend. So when we talk of extension, extension has to do with merging 2 different lists together. So we can add 2 different lists together with the use of the extend function. Okay, so let's go ahead and comment this. So we have list, let's say list 1, the mango, pineapple. Then maybe list 2, I have a list of countries. A beloved country, we have Ghana, sister country, we have Nigeria. All right, so
Said
come again.
the mango.
Okay, thank you for the correction. So to add or to merge these two, we'll first bring the first list name, then we say extend. So once we say extend, then inside the the extend function, you go ahead and put in the list two. Okay, then you can go ahead and print list one. So we've added, so we are saying that add list two to list one. This is what we have here. So Python will make your life so easy. So you can see that now we have mango, pineapple, Ghana, and Nigeria. So once we say extend, then that means you want to join multiple uh, lists to the other. You can also remove you can also remove items from a list with the use of the remove function. So once you say remove, then you specify the value, then the item will be removed from the list. So let's go ahead and remove an item from the list. All right, so as we want to remove Joe, let's remove Joe from this particular list. So when you go back to our notes, it says you just mention the list dot remove, then you pass in the value. So all I'll say is just list variable dot remove. Then with the remove, I'll go ahead and pass in the name. Sorry, I think Joe, yeah. So just go like this. Once you are done, if you want to check your new or your updated list variable, you just go to print and you can see that we don't have Joe in our list now. Another way to also remove an item from the list is using the pop function, just like the champagne pop. So it just pops out the cap from the whatever it is. Yeah, so with the pop, unlike the remove will ensure that you mention the name of the value you want to take out. But with the pop deals with the index. So the pop does not really care about the data item there. Because sometimes if we want to remove an item from a list, uh, we may not know the name of the item there, but maybe we are interested in whatever index that appears at that particular arena. So assuming I want to take away the fourth item, so maybe at every point in time, just delete the fourth item. So in deleting the fourth item, the list will be created, will be arranged in a particular order. So any item that falls on the fourth item or the fourth index rather, the fourth index shall be removed. So tell me which item is going to be removed from our list here.
Joe.
Joe.
All right. So, all right. So let me go back. Let me do 3. else Joe will be removed and it will tell us that Joe has already been removed, something like that. All right, so let's run. So this time we are expecting Michael to be removed from the list because our first item here is going to delete Joe. They're going to remove Joe because we specified the name Joe, but with the pop, it will look at the list and uh, you let me comment this one and let's go back to our form, which is the Joe. So let's go back and see whether Joe. So you can see that we still don't have Joe within our list here. So the pop has to deal with the indexes. So if you are using the pop, don't forget that you need the index. If you are using remove, then the remove expects you that you are going to remove based on the name or the value that the value itself and not the index. Yeah, so we are saying that pop method removes a specific or a specified index. You can also go ahead and clear our list just like that. Okay, so after everything is said and done, you can go ahead and say list variable dot clear. So when we run, print list. All right. So you can see that our list here is empty because of the clear that we have. All right, so that is list for us. And then we also have another item that is actually related to the list, and we call that the tuple. Now, when you look, the list and tuples do the same job, but the difference here is that list, you can go ahead and change the items, but with tuples will not allow you to change the items. Even though you can change, you have a way of changing the items, but as for tuples, the main purpose of tuple is to ensure that uh, once the items are being created, you don't get a chance to change the items once they are created. All right, so tuples are ordered, unchangeable, and allow duplicates. So you can see that the difference between the tuple and the list is that list can be changed when you create them, but tuples ensures that you can't change the data. So instances where you want to create a program where you don't want your data items to be changed, then you can go for a tuple. Okay. Yeah, so tuples are unchangeable, meaning you can't change, add, or remove items after the tuple has been created. And also it allows duplicates. So this is also similar to, but the difference between a list and a tuple is that when you are creating a tuple, is the difference here is nothing but a bracket. So these brackets here makes it a tuple. Okay, so this is a tuple because of the bracket used. Then for list, it uses the squared brackets. So they are basically the same thing, just that one will allow changes to be done, the other one to not allow changes to be done once they are created. Okay. So let's see some other properties of the tuple. So as we saw in with the list, this particular list uh, is filled with strings only. You can have that. Another tuple can have different data types within them. You can also have different variables, like this. So this variable here is only dealing with string variables. This one is also dealing with um, integer variables. This one is also dealing with Boolean variables as well. So the same thing, the things this can have, all the other one can do same. Then to access items within a tuple, just as we did in list, in the same way, you just have to go and get your index, and then you can display your item within a tuple. You can also make use of the negative values to display those items. With tuples, you can specify a range of indexes by specifying where to start and where to end. So with these particular values that we see here, it says that we have 2 to 5. Now the search will start at index 2, included, and then it will end at index 5, not included. So which means that our items, this is 0, 1, 2. So 2, which will be included, 2, 3, 4, 5. But the fifth item here will not be included. So the items that are going to be displayed here, we have cherry, orange, and the kiwi. So let's try this one since it's a bit different from our list here. So let's go ahead and delete this, delete this, delete that. So we're doing 2 posts now. So print tuple variable. Then use a square bracket to specify the range. Let me use 6 here. All right, so someone should tell me what will be the values to be displayed when we run this. Anyone? Before I run, someone should tell me.
Hello.
Jonathan to Q.
King, Samuel, Jonathan, Michael, Joe.
Are you sure King will be a part?
No.
No. Jonathan.
Yes. And who?
Michael, Joe.
Joe K. Hilda.
Okay, so
Jonathan to K.
Jonathan to K, yes. Because remember, the seed item will not be displayed. So Jonathan to K. The one who said Jonathan to K had it. So when you specify like this, the first index here will be included, but the last item here will be excluded. So bear in mind. That's a little bit of confusion here. So I remember reading this. Okay. Yeah, so please note the first item here shall be included in the list, but the last item shall not be included in the list. The notice here. Okay. Yeah, so there are other ways of accessing um, items within a tuple. Now, by leaving out the start value, the range will start at the first item. So we have, so when this one says this example returns the items from the beginning to, but not included keyword. So this is index 4. So you have 0, 1, 2, 3, and this shall be excluded. So remember, the last item here is always not included within the range. Now, when you leave the initial value or index, we are saying that it will begin from the first item, but the last index shall be excluded from the tuple. It's the same way if you have this too. It's the same way if you have this. They are saying that these two will also include, so it says this example returns from cherry to the end. So this will include the index at position 2 till it completes the remaining items on the list. So note that when you are having a range, the starting point is always included, but the ending point is always excluded when it comes to tuple, when you are dealing with a range. So similarly, we can also check if an item exists within a tuple. And we use the same example, we saw the same example when we were dealing with the list. Tuples are unchangeable, meaning you cannot add, change, or remove items once the tuple is created. But there are some workarounds. There are some workarounds. Now, change tuple values. Now, once a tuple is created, you can't change its values. Tuples are unchangeable or immutable, as it is called. But there is a workaround. Now, if you want to change a tuple, it says you can first convert the tuple into a list. Then, as for list, we can add up whatever we want to add. Once we are done, then we have to convert it back to what? A tuple. So let's go back and see how we can get that done. So we have, okay, so we have this as our tuple here. And we are saying that with tuples, you can't change when they are being created. But what you can do is that if you have your list, sorry, your tuple, you have to convert the tuple into a list. So convert the tuple into a list. And we know that as for list, we can change their values. So once we are done changing their values, then we will convert back the list. We convert the list back to a tuple. Then that is where you can have the changes done. Okay, so but if you want to go ahead and attack the tuple by changing it, it doesn't work like that. So now we have this there. So now what you're supposed to do is to convert this particular list here. So to change a list, to change a tuple to a list is just simple. You create a new variable, which is, let me say, list tuple is equal to the name of the tuple. Sorry, we will say list. You're converting to a list. Then now we can now pass the tuple variable. So we want to create a list for our tuple. So we create a new variable. Then we use the keyword list. Then we pass in the tuple. So now once we run this, this has been changed. This tuple has been changed to a list now. So now this becomes our new list. So if you want to add a new item to the list, then you may have to go ahead and then add whatever you want to add to it. So to add, then you can now go ahead and use the index that you want to deal with. Okay, so we want to add one more item to the list. So I'll go ahead and say list tuple, maybe index, this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So maybe I'll go for 7. Okay, let me go for 4 and add a new name, maybe Linda. So once we are done, so this time we've added our item to our list. So once we do the changes, then we have to get back our tuple. So we can go ahead and then call the name of this particular tuple and then say tuple. Now we're going to change the list tuple. So we're going to use list tuple. And then we have our tuple back. So let's run and see how these things take effect. This is empty, interesting.
Say print.
Sorry, print. Yeah, we didn't print. Yes. So you go ahead and say print our tuple. Okay. Right. So you can see Linda has now been added. Yeah. So our first approach is we have our tuple data here, and then we want to update we want to make changes to it. And we are saying that before you can make the changes, you may have to convert this particular tuple into a list. That is what we did here, using the keyword list here. So this is changed to the list and stored in a new variable. Then you can now go ahead and use this particular list variable and add Linda to the index 4. Once we are done, we can go back and create another variable that will change this particular list into a tuple and stored into the new tuple variable. Once we are done, we can display and the changes will be made. Is there any question before I continue?
Yeah, so please, I have a question.
Okay.
Okay, can we slice a list just as you did with the tuple?
Slice. What do you mean by slice?
Using a ratio like maybe 1 and 3, as you did with the tuple, to get some of the data that you had in the list. Maybe, I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say.
No, come again.
You use a ratio like 2:6 to get some data from.
Yes.
But I'm asking if we can use that same thing on a list.
We can try that if you want to see.
I think it'll work.
It will work.
Yeah.
Yes. So the same way of accessing. All right. So this is a list. So list tuple is a list here. Okay. So let's go ahead and say print. There we have, let's say 2 to 3. Sorry. So 2 to 3 index is here, but this one is outside. This is outside. Remember, the first item is only the first index, or the initial index, is what is going to be included, but the final index is going to be what excluded. So Jonathan will be the only person to be displayed. Yeah, so it works. Yeah, so that is programming for you. All you're supposed to do is you just, if you have any crazy idea, just ask, you try. If it works, then you have it. If it doesn't work, you've learned your lesson. Yeah, so the same thing we can do for the list, we can do the same thing for the tuple as well. Just that you can't directly change an item within a tuple. So as I was saying, tuples and lists have the same, they have a lot in common when it comes to data types. We saw that list can harbor duplicate values here. So we have duplicate values here. So you can see that Apple is here, Apple is here. When we check our list also does the same thing. You can see the same thing here, duplicate values. This one accepts different data types within a single variable. Tuple does the same thing. Just as tuple can have a straight or the same data type within a particular variable, the same way list can also do the same. So the only difference here is this: the list is changeable. The items within a list is changeable. You can change the items. It's possible. But the difference here with the tuple is that tuple you can't change. Okay, so before you change, before you add, before you remove, you must note this law. You must first change the tuple to a list. Then when you go ahead, since now it's now a list and the list can be changed, you go ahead and what? Do your update. Once you are done, then you convert the item back to what? A list. And that is where that is how you can, tackle, the tuple. Yes. Aside that, they all do the same thing. Whatever you have here that list can do. That is why I didn't go further repeating myself again, because I kept repeating that what you can do here, the same thing can be done, at the other end. So the only difference here is that if you want to change anything in a tuple, you must first change it to a list, effect the changes, then you have to revert it back to a tuple. Now look at removing an item from a tuple, for instance. We saw how we can remove an item from a list. So this is a tuple. And then to remove Apple, you have to go through the stress of changing the list here into changing the tuple here into a list. Once you are done, you can go ahead and remove it. Once you are done removing the item, then you convert it back to what? A tuple. And then you can print the item and you have the updates on that. Yeah, so that brings us to the end of tuples as well. Our time is almost up. We also have sets, but I'm not going to deal with sets. I rather make us to look at loops. So we have loops. Yeah, so just as we have the for loop in C++ and also the while loop in C++, Python too has loops within its arena. So a for loop is used for iterating over a sequence. Either it's a list or a tuple or a set or a string. Yeah. So as loops actually work hand in hand a lot with lists and tuples. That is why I need us to go through the list and the tuple. But unfortunately, there's another some of the one of the classes has another class, so we have to end when it is 11. But we should even end now whilst they prepare for the next lecture. So please go ahead and I'll give you the slides. Then you go ahead and learn everything. The slides are really easy. Just take time, read, and you understand whatever it is that you understand. All right. Yeah, so to use the for loop to list all the items here, it's simple. So you use the keyword for is here. Then we have x as the index. If you remember your for loop, you have int I where you declare variable int I as a counter. Then in fruits, then you display whatever. So you just print out x. So to go ahead and display all these items one after the other with the list. It's quite simpler compared to C++. All right, so it's almost 11. Just get prepared for the project. And then when the time is due, I'll collect it before our next lecture. So stay safe. Enjoy your day. Catch you later.